Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in day number 77 of my 100 Days of Magic, we're going to take an EDH look at Scourge. Scourge was the 29th expansion. It came out in May of 2003, had 143 cards, 44 rare, 44 uncommon, and 55 commons. And it was billed as a dragon-themed set, hence the dragon skull as the set symbol. Right after Legions, it kind of fell along the same lines of what Legions was trying to do, so let's look at it. Now, it did, since we are still an Onslaught block, the tribal was still a very big thing. And here we have our war chiefs. Now, I don't know if I did all the war chiefs, but here's Daru War Chief. It's the soldiers. They all pretty much gave your team plus something and made them cost one less, so... this one did not see as much play because it is a 4-mana 1/1, you know. But it was still, I still played in my tribal soldiers deck. Wing Shards. Ooh. Have you ever had, back when you were learning how to play Magic, had somebody tell you, okay, untap, upkeep, draw, pre-combat main phase, go ahead and swing. Just skip it, skip your pre-con and swing. This is what taught us. Because, see, the object is to give your opponent as little information as possible when making blocking choices, whether to block or what to block with. You still have all your mana, you still have all your cards in hand. So that's the theory behind it, is not to give them any more information unless what you're going to play is going to impact combat in a substantial way. Then you wait till after combat to cast your creatures or spells or whatever. Now, that's the smart way to play. I don't always do that. You know, some of us don't always. Then they print Wing Shards. And they force teach us that lesson. Yeah. So, you know, you untap, you upkeep, you draw, you're going to play a little thing here and a little thing there, and then you're going to swing, and then they're going to play Wing Shards, and you're going to get blown out by one card because you got to sack 3 or 4 creatures. Yeah. It takes, by the way, it takes exactly one time to get blown out by Wing Shards before you start playing around it. Brain Freeze. Now, we had, much like, I forgot to mention with Wing Shards, this was a storm block. We had a lot of storm cards. Now, Brain Freeze, milling has its own set of challenges in our format with a 99 card deck, but I think that's kind of what makes it so fun. You know what I'm saying? Is when you can mill somebody out in a 100 card deck, I mean, you're doing it. And Brain Freeze is, there are a lot of ways to get an arbitrarily large number of loops. An infinite loop going to where you're casting the same, you know, ornithopter over and over with whatever, but you're not really accomplishing anything. Or maybe you're doing just integral points of damage if you've got, I don't know, Enduring Renewal, Goblin Bombardment, and an ornithopter. I don't know why that popped in my head, it just did. But if that's the case, you've got infinite damage, so you really don't need it. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. You can generate a loop to where, or an arbitrary number, if you're, you know, omnisciencing a buyback capsize, I don't know, and then you just brain freeze the table out. It works. Day of the Dragons. Now, the reason why I've got Day of the Dragons on here is, no, I've never seen it played in Commander, but I think it's really neat. It is a solid blue color identity card that makes red dragons. Right? It turns all your creatures into dragons. You know, if you're running this and you're running, I don't know, merfolk or little 1/1s of some sort, maybe that spiny starfish or whatever, the one that makes the little 0/1s. Yeah, and you just bam, I have that many dragons. And when this leaves, the dragons are gone and you get the stuff back. So I don't know. I kind of like it. Especially if you've got these dragons and you're beaten down with them and they kill them either one by one or all in one fell swoop with a board wipe, Obviously, if we're playing this, we have a way to sacrifice it or bounce it or something. And we can just bounce it and get all of our original creatures back, provided they weren't tokens, of course. And then we've got it back in our hand to do it again. I don't know. Yeah, 7 mana does seem like a little bit of a reach, but that's kind of what I do, you know. Decree of Silence caught a lot of play once Solemnity hit. Yeah, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you counter it and put a depletion counter on this. If it's got 3 counters, you sack it. But Solemnity, enchantments can't get counters. So with those 2 cards, you just counter every spell every opponent plays, and you're fine. It is... I actually have that combo in, I don't know, 4 decks. Never drawn either card. Of course, I'm not exactly rocking one deck, you know, all the time. I don't play the same deck twice in a row. You know, I'll take 5 or 6 decks to weekly EDH night, and then the next week I'll take a different set of decks. You know, so yeah. It's kind of like my Felidar Sovereign thing. I've got it in a whole bunch of decks, never seen it. Mind's Desire, the Ultimate Storm. There used to be a deck back in what we refer to now as Old Extended called TEPS. It was the Extended Perfect Storm, and I have thought hard about building a new version of TEPS, the EDH Perfect Storm. And this is, I mean, you've got to... The only problem with building Storm in our format is we have to have a lot of redundancy because we can't have 4 ofs. We have to have 1 ofs. And this has got to be at least 2 color, probably 3. And it kind of, I don't know. I like the idea behind it, though. And even if you're just getting a Mind's Desire off of 3, it's not bad. You know, not bad at all. Piven Zara. This is turns a creature into Morphling. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 1. Almost. It's got 4 abilities. Morphling's got 5, I think. Oh, no. They combined the last one. Gotcha. So, yeah, turns it into a Morphling, which y'all know the Morphling story, but this is really, really good for those creatures that tap to produce an ability of some sort, whether it's tap to do a point of damage or tap to whatever, draw a card. That's amazing. But yeah, good reusable. It, especially if your commander has blue in it and taps for an ability, you might want to look at Piven Zara. Now, Russian Knowledge. I have a weird take on Russian Knowledge. I think this is an artifact card. I do, because typically what I'm doing with it is, in my artifact-based decks, well, most of the time they're blue anyway, right? I mean, sometimes they're red, sometimes they're both, but that Darksteel Forge is hard for me not to run in a serious artifact deck. And it seems like the next card I pick after Darksteel Forge is, well, Russian Knowledge. I can pay 5 and draw 9. And then that makes you go down a dark place of like, well, I've got this Darksteel Colossus and this Blightsteel Colossus, see? Hey, look, this is a planar bridge. And the next thing you know, Russian Knowledge is awesome, but your average CMC is through the roof. But anyway, if you can be a lot more responsible than I am, it's a good card. Stifle. Man. There is belief that they might put Stifle in this Modern Horizon deal. I don't know. Because this is just barely out of Modern Reach. Modern Reach will start in the next set. It will start in Mirrodin. So that's Modern is Mirrodin 8th edition forward. And this is the last set that's not in Modern. So I don't know. It's pretty decent. I like it. I've been on both sides of it, and when it works beautifully. It just never does for me. Call to the Grave. This is absolutely outstanding as well in your zombie deck. Now, because it's never going to die. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they have to sacrifice a non-zombie. So we're not sacrificing anything. We're playing zombies. And at the end of turns, there are no creatures in play. You got to sack it. Well, there's always going to be zombies because we're playing zombies, and then I ain't got to sack them. So this is going to be around until somebody destroys it, or somehow they wipe the board, you know, and there's nothing out there. But Call the Grave, it gets a lot of value. It eats up a lot of creatures. Karen Feeder. The reason why I've got Karen Feeder here is free sacrifice outlets aren't that common. I know it sounds weird because it's a common, but most of the time it's pay mana, sacrifice a creature, do something. But this is just sacrifice a creature, do something. And that's useful in so many decks. I mean, so many. Yeah, I've got Karen. I'm scared to know how many decks I've got Karen Feeder in. Once I get them all inventoried on deck stats, we'll all know. But, and it has the byproduct of this guy gets a 1/1 counter, so that's not nothing. Decree of Pain. Now, all 5 colors also got a decree. And Decree of Pain just happened to be the absolute best. It is 7 mana, but it's a 7 mana board wipe, which, I mean, you know, we've had worse. But then you fill your hand back up, so you're drawing a card for each creature. That's living the dream, destroying all creatures and drawing a fistful of cards. I mean, that's where it's at. And look at that shadow on the wall in the art. Lethal Vapors, 4 mana. Whenever a creature comes into play, destroy it. 0. Destroy Lethal Vapors, skip your next turn. Any player may pay this. Now, this is good on 2 fronts. Now, while I agree letting your opponent choose modes is not optimal, however, this is a lose-lose scenario. If they leave it out there, nobody can play creatures. If somebody does destroy it through its own ability, they skip their turn. And how much is it worth to target player skips their turn? Is it worth 4 mana? Yeah, probably so. So anyway, it's one I've never seen played in Commander, and I probably won't, but it's enough to pique my interest. Nefashu, man, what are you talking about, zombies? 5 up to, so you don't have to choose 5. You can do, you know, from 0 to 5. That's fine. Each get -1/-1. It's not defending player. It's any creature on the board. If you've got to wipe out some tokens, if you need to get yourself down in the creature count for some reason, it's so good. Skull Tap. Y'all know, I know I've just recently put this in a deck. I want to say I put it in Judith. I'm sitting here looking at deck number 408, which is going to be Judith. And I'm pretty sure that it's in there because you kind of want to sacrifice creatures. In any deck you're wanting to sacrifice creatures in, Skull Tap, probably pretty good. Ooh, the Storm card. I can tell you I have won and lost so many games on the back of this card. It is crazy. And it don't take a lot. Now, in our format that's multiplayer, it does. That's why I guess Storm has the EDH appeal to me that Mill has for us, because it's so incredibly difficult to do, and that's why it intrigues me. I mean, I'm building a deck that all the cards are from 1994. Yeah, I've got it almost done. I just got to get my swamps for it, and they're revised swamps. But anyway, Tendrils of Agony, great card. The Undead Warchief, the zombie one. This one, 4 mana 1/1, but it's not really because it works on itself. I guess the soldier one does too. But zombies you control, and this is a zombie, so this is a 3/2 for 4 mana that makes your zombies cost 1 less, and they all get +2. So it's outstanding. This one's been reprinted a couple times and still just as good. Unspeakable Symbol is a hidden gem. I love this card. Oh my gosh. Have you ever had just too much life and you need to get rid of some of it? Sounds funny, but in Marchesa the Black Rose, she works by having, you have to attack the person with the highest life. Well, eventually, I mean, if you can swing at one person and then you're going to do damage to them, and eventually you're going to be the one at the highest life. It's just going to happen. If nobody's interfering with your plan, you're going to be the one at the highest life, and therefore you can't attack yourself. So you've got to spend your life down somehow. And I mean, most of the time we do it with the black card draw spells. Even though we do have access to blue, we use the black life payment card draw for that reason. But Unspeakable Symbol doubles because that dethrone and her +1 ability, and it's this was made for Marchesa the Black Rose, what, 15 years before it ever came out? Yeah, it's outstanding. Decree of Annihilation, for when you absolutely, positively got to kill everything on the board. Yeah. Exile all artifacts, creatures, lands, graveyards, and hands. Now, all right, hold on. Go with me on this, okay? So I've got, what's that card? It's a white card. The unversion was the Chief Stands Alone. If that's the only thing you control, you win. So I play that. And then I O-ring it. And then I Decree of Annihilation. Pass turn. Yeah. I'm going to do that. I swear to you, I'm going to do that. And it's all Boros colors, so, I mean, it's not like there's not room in a Boros deck for, you know, a random 3-card combo win. Yeah. Dragonmage. This is, yeah. Deals combat damage to a player. Each player. Wheel of Fortunes. Each player. So it's not hard to find one of your opponents not having a flying blocker. The Wheel of Fortune effect, of course, odds are I'm playing with like Psychosis Crawler because I love that card. And you're going to take damage in addition to your new hand. I'm sure. Now, I haven't built Nekuzar yet, but I'm sure if you look, this should be in a Nekuzar list. It will probably end up being in my Nekuzar list because it is a repeatable wheel. Although, I don't know. I kind of want to build Nekuzar on blocks. You know, no wheels. Dragon Speaker Shaman. Here again, we're in a dragon set, and for 3 mana, I mean, this card's almost free. It costs 3, but it saves you 2 on the very first dragon you cast, so you're only out 1 mana, and if you cast a second dragon with this out there, you're actually plus. So it's really, really good. I use it a lot. Now, Dragonstorm, this is where I want to be living at with my Storm deck. It really is. It's not Mind's Desire. It's not Tendrils of Agony. I want a Dragonstorm just like the good old days, you know. But we've got a different set of circumstances we've got one of. So I kind of want to do as many hasty dragons as absolutely possible. And the one Bogarden, whatever it is. And just try to Dragonstorm out. Because I love D-Storm. Yeah. Goblin Warstrike. Now, this is what I use for, like, Kiki-Jiki if we are locked out with a Propaganda or Ghostly Prison type effect. This is the card I use. Because, it's just direct damage to the face. And most of the time, Kiki-Jiki, not Kiki-Jiki, Krenko. Kiki-Jiki too if you're copying goblins. I mean, but, yeah. Goblin Warchief. Now, Goblin Warchief may be one of the better ones. It doesn't give pluses, but it does give haste. It is 3 mana instead of 4 like the others, and it makes goblins, which is already a cheap tribe, cost even cheaper. So This one has definitely seen the most play. I believe, wasn't this just reprinted in Dominara? I think so. Siege Gang Commander. Like every time this card has been legal, it's been relevant. It just, I mean, and it's been legal since this day for us. What was that? 2003? So we've had this card for 16 years now. And I use it in a lot, like every goblin tribal deck I have, because it's never 5 mana for 5 power. It's always more, because you get the 2 from him and the 3/1/1s, but more than likely you're going to have pumps, you're going to have enchantments or champions or whatever, and then you've got, you know, a board full of shocks just waiting to be thrown. Alpha status. I love me some alpha status. As a matter of fact, I think I'm out. I think everyone I own's in a deck of some sort, whether it be elves or I think I actually have one in spiders, if I'm not mistaken, because there's just so many. I mean, for each other creature in play that shares a type with it, this is a 3 mana to make probably your commander an instant threat. Decree of Savagery. Okay. Full confession. I'd never seen this card before I was researching this video. Never. I opened Scourge. Now, granted, this was kind of the time I wasn't as hardcore into Magic. I was kind of cheating on Magic with the Lord of the Rings card game. But I realized the error of my ways and come back home to Magic. But anyway, I'd never seen this card. I never even thought about what the green decree was. But you put 4 counters on your team. What? Of course, they all have the cycling ability that does a smaller version of what they do, but 4 counters on your team. Since I didn't know this card existed, I can't quote you a price on it or anything, but I'm betting, since I've never ever seen it, it can't be that expensive, right? But 1/1 counters is a very, very popular thing. I've built several decks around it with green, and this would probably slot into every single one of them. Speaking of 1/1 counters, this one, of course, this one's been reprinted like, I don't know, every 15 minutes this gets a reprint. I love it, though. I mean, I can't get enough of it, because anybody plays a spell, it gets a counter, and then you get to move those counters around wherever you want to, like, say, over to your Triskelion or Walking Ballista or Commander or whatnot. Yeah. Now, one with nature I have flirted with quite a bit. I think it's in a couple of decks. It does put the card into play tapped, but you know what? That's kind of fine. Living the Dream is getting this out on your early 1-drop and getting, I mean, okay, let's be real. How many lands does it take to get with this before its value? I'm going to say 1. Because it's an enchant creature, and probably, well, no, I don't know. It's an enchant creature, so you're putting it on a creature that you already have, which opens you up for a 2-for-1 scenario. However, if you can get 1 land, you're at break-even point. So if you're at 2 lands, by the time they kill the creature, you're up 1. So, yeah, it's not bad. Especially in an aggro deck where you're planning on turning creatures sideways. Sprouting Vines is another amazing one, because all of these landfall decks, Windgrace, Azusa, Gitrog, well, the problem is you run out of cards in hand. I mean, it just happens. And with Storm here, you don't even really have to engineer it. There's a lot of times the game will, just by playing the game, your other players will make your card valid for you. And if 2 players get in a counterspell war, you know what? That's the time. You guys done? Okay. Sprouting Vines. I'm going to go get 5 lands, put them in my hand. Appreciate it. Bladewing the Risen. Man, this got reprinted as an uncommon, didn't it? With new art, I believe. I do like the 5. I mean, it is 7 mana, 4/4 flyer. But you get a dragon back from the graveyard to play. And it has dragon team breathing. What? Yeah. For a black and a red, all dragons. Now keep in mind, this is all dragons, not just yours. So if somebody else has got dragons out there, you need to have more in order for it to matter. Edgewalker. Now, clerics is kind of a supported tribe in this block and nowhere else, really. I don't know. Lorwyn had a little bit. But what is unique about this, I think, is the fact that it costs the colored less, the white and the black. So that is just by definition, a lot of your one-drop clerics are free. Just free. Yeah, it's a really weird effect there, the templating taking away, because it can only reduce the amount of colored mana. It's neat. I'm sure there's a reason R&D's not giving us another card like this that specifically reduces colored mana symbols, but I'm sure there's a reason. I just don't know what it is. Surely it can't be because it's overpowered or busted. Thank God it's for clerics and not for, like, say, elves. Corona the False God. Now, Corona has a lot of decks that a lot of people build because she's a 5-color general. I mean, you got Child of Alarm, Progenitus. There's not a whole lot. We're not real deep on 5-color commanders. Let's face it, we're not. And Corona gets that a lot. Most decks that run her don't even try to cast her because she's just there to allow for the 5 colors. But now I run her as flavor in Tribal Gods because she's the only 5-color card with God in the title, and I needed 5 colors for the 15 Theros Gods. Yeah, she don't get played. Now when somebody else is playing the deck, they may be like, hey, we're going to pass Corona and the Pantheon around the table, so why not? I don't know. With great power comes great responsibility. Sliver Overlord. In my opinion, the best 5-color sliver. The Queen is good, and she was the first. This is a 5-mana 7/7. Obviously epic in the mirror, but the ability to tutor slivers straight to your it's so good. You just go get whatever it is you need, and if this is your commander and starts in the command zone, you're guaranteed access to it. Really, your only issue is how fast can you get Wubert, right? Temple of the False God. Now, this is a hotly contested card in our format. Everybody I know seems to be on one side or the other. Nobody's like, meh, it's okay. Either it's good, or it's awesome, or it's terrible, or whatever. But I don't know. I think Temple of the False God does have its places. Yeah, it sucks in your opening hand. No kidding. But I think it does have its places. Every deck? Probably not, no. But it does have its uses. And that is what we have got for Scourge. I do appreciate y'all watching. This was a little more than Legions. We had some actual, non-creature spells in this one. So y'all know what next is. Next, we're heading into the modern era. The next set I do will be Mirrodin. And oh, goodness. There's a ton of cards. I don't know. It's going to take me a while to get through everything I want to talk about with Mirrodin. So I guess until then, we will see y'all next time.